the Blairing Out with Eric Blair show, and tonight we're on the red carpet for Bass Player Live. Dave.
Eric Blair.
Eric Blair from the Blairing Out with Eric Blair show.
How are you?
Hey, how you guys doing?
Good, nice to meet you.
Dave, what is the importance of Bass Player Live for you?
It's the Super Bowl for bass. It's probably the biggest one. There's a couple of them around the world of various magazines, but Bass Player, certainly for me growing up here in the United States, Guitar Player was the very first magazine I read as a kid, a musician magazine, and then they rolled out Bass Player and Keyboard and all these different magazines, and for them to have something like this for bass players, it's like our shining moment.
What songs are you going to perform tonight?
Tonight, I'm going to be playing with Chris. We're going to be playing a National Acrobat and Children of the Grave.
Wow.
Yeah.
National Acrobat. That's a pretty difficult song to play.
You're telling me. That's not a typical one. It's funny. I remember hearing, Children of the Grave. There was a moment when Ozzy was putting out records that he would do in a lot of the old Sabbath songs and stuff. And all these tunes were being brought out. And a National Acrobat, man, I mean, that's kind of like this hidden gem, man. I mean, very few, I don't know of anybody that's ever covered it. We were just on tour with Sabbath. I don't think they played it when they were down there, right? So
Not that I can recall off their set list.
yeah, so
All those songs on Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath, were sang in a really high register, like really high. So,
Right.
So I would think vocally it'd be a challenge too.
it is, and we actually have Doug Pinnick singing tonight with us, and it's funny because he sings it really low, and Doug has this very distinctive vocal style, and so it's kind of cool because he's such a phenomenal bass player that he's brought in to be our singer tonight, which is pretty hip. Doug's he's the man. He's got it going on.
Favorite part about being in Megadeth?
For me, it's just the honor of being in such an iconic band with an emphasis on guitar playing, That's really what it is for me, and especially when you look at the great guitarists that have been in it in the past. So.
Do you ever get used to these huge festivals? Because it just seems like you guys just play festival after festival now. Is it just old hat to you now?
It kind of is, in a good way, because when you feel comfortable up there, you do a much better job at it, of course. I remember the first time we walked out at Castle Donington in 1988. I've never seen anything like that. People as far as the eye could see. And it's weird, man, to try to adjust to that. And, we just played this big run that we just did with Black Sabbath, Megadeth in South America. Probably one of the stranger venues was this very big venue south of Buenos Aires, Argentina, in a town called La Plata. They've got this massive venue. And it's kind of like the Dallas Cowboys stadium where it has like a hole cut in the top. And it was interesting because there was, 50, 60,000 people there, very loud in the room, but I looked over at Chris and Dave, and we have our in-ears in, and we felt like just kind of like this little quartet up there playing amongst ourselves, with 50,000 people losing their mind. And I don't know what it sounded like for them, but up where we are, it sounded pretty great, actually. Yeah.
Tell me about touring with Black Sabbath. Are you talking to the guys on the road at all, or are they keeping to themselves?
A little bit. We know each other, so it's not our, first time hanging. Our, just as importantly, our staffs and management and crew, because those people are the ones interacting most of the time during the day. But, we're two very big professional organizations, so we kind of like sort of Black Sabbath Inc. and Megadeth Inc. It's like a corporate merger for a month, and we go out and we do our thing. But for us musicians, when we get on stage, it's a Megadeth show, and then we step down and Sabbath comes up and it's a Black Sabbath show, and that's kind of what the perk for the fans, actually.
Are you being treated well? Because you're opening. You're considered an opening act for Black Sabbath.
Well, it's interesting with this particular one because it was billed as Black Sabbath and Megadeth. Clearly their logo was bigger than ours, but yeah, we've earned our keep in South America. We went down there the first time, Rock in Rio in 1991, but we kind of really had to enter in there as a headliner back in 1994 on the Euthanasia record almost 20 years ago. And for whatever reason, man, they took to us and they love us down there. And it's kind of a victory lap to go down there and play. And it was great that I felt like we brought something to the table too. When you're really young and you're just starting out, you're kind of like just hoping for some scraps of the headliners. They give us a few scraps for us. But this, now I think at this point with Megadeth, and it's nice to feel like we bring something to the table too.
Last time we spoke, you were working on a new Megadeth record.
Supercollider was the one that came out about 6 months ago this summer. Yeah, that was the latest record, and it was our first one that we did for Universal. We're always writing, we're always working on stuff. New ideas kind of start floating around a little bit. Individually we write. Also, we get together in our jam room backstage and start working on new things. So we definitely have some new songs already started. Too early to tell a direction by any means. We're in the middle of a Supercollider world tour, so we're not ready to start pimping a new record yet, but it's good to have the creative thing start working already.
I know that you guys are Christians. In fact, aren't you studying to be a pastor or something?
Yeah, I am, of all things. We're at a Black Sabbath revival, and I'm, Lutheran pastor here. Which, you know what, here's the funny thing about that, I think all of us in Western society have some sort of kind of Judeo-Christian either upbringing or around it or whatever, And, I grew up in the Midwest, and I finished my college degree, a business degree, a few years ago, and an opportunity was put forward to do some seminary study theology, which I thought was kind of cool. I enjoyed it. I liked it. And, what's funny is a lot of people here in our metal world were kind of like, wow, dude, that's cool you're doing that. You're like, I figured the metal fans would be like, dude, that's so not metal. But a lot of people are like, wow, that's kind of a cool thing that you did that. And I think if anything, not that I have been called upon to represent heavy metal, but, now that I understand a lot of it, it's like to the people that are such naysayers about metal, it's bogus, man, and we're all here. I think tonight Black Sabbath, Geezer Butler, who wrote most of those Black Sabbath lyrics, he wrote these lyrics that a lot of us when we were young, we were scratching our head going, it's so mystical, what's he talking about, and it's dark, and is it satanic, and the occult, and Geezer's been open about some things that he wrote about, like I think NIB was like about Satan falling in love, and stuff like this, and just cool lyrics, man. I mean, stuff that makes you think, and so it's, I don't think that it doesn't have to be division of church and state, man. I mean, metal and faith, whatever, it can all work together.
Well, I mean, listening to heavy metal is not a salvation issue.
It's not exactly. It's not supposed. And we didn't
church made it one.
And we didn't ask anyone to come in here to try to save us either. Yeah. I mean, we're just here playing and rocking and having fun. So you're right. To that degree, like just kind of let us rock out and do our thing.
Could you see yourself ever doing a song like there's a song called "Hell to Pay on Judgment Day," which is essentially a song where the lyrics are saying if you don't accept Christ, you're going to hell. Could you guys ever see yourselves covering a song?
We didn't start like that. Was never our. Our mission was to be the fastest and utmost furious metal band ever, and not even metal band, just band, period, And we got called a thrash band after we were together. Our genre got defined as thrash, so these titles were put upon us, So our mission was, to be, fast and furious, and whatever we write songs about, look, when you write songs about people, you never run out of topics to write about.
The Blairing Out Show.